The sun was beginning to set over the quiet streets of a small American town when an unexpected event unfolded, one that would leave everyone speechless. The air was thick with anticipation as a long line of sleek black Cadillacs moved steadily down the road, their tinted windows concealing the powerful figures inside. It was none other than the presidential convoy, carrying none other than Donald Trump himself. Crowds had gathered along the sidewalks, some cheering, others simply watching in awe as the impressive motorcade made its way through town. Secret Service agents, clad in black suits and earpieces, maintained a tight perimeter, their eyes scanning every movement, ensuring nothing interrupted the carefully planned route. But then, out of nowhere, a young boy, no older than 10, suddenly dashed into the street, arms waving frantically. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Tires screeched as the convoy came to a sudden halt. The boy planted himself firmly in front of the lead Cadillac, his face filled with urgency. He took a deep breath and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Don't go that way." For a brief moment, silence fell over the street. Everyone froze. Secret Service agents reached for their weapons. The crowd held its breath. And inside the vehicles, uncertainty gripped the passengers. What could possibly make a child risk everything to stop the presidential convoy? What did he know that no one else did? Little did anyone realize, this boy's warning would change everything. For a few heart-pounding seconds, no one moved. The only sound was the idling engines of the Cadillac convoy and the boy's heavy breathing. His small chest rose and fell as he stood his ground, refusing to let the cars pass.
Then, chaos erupted.
Secret Service agents rushed forward, their hands instinctively moving toward their concealed weapons. The lead agent barked into his earpiece, signaling the team to secure the area. Onlookers gasped, unsure whether to run or stay and watch this unbelievable scene unfold. A tall, broad-shouldered agent with dark sunglasses approached the boy cautiously. His voice was firm but calm. "Son, step away from the vehicle. Now." The boy shook his head vigorously, his face filled with a mix of fear and determination. "You can't go that way," he shouted again, his voice cracking. "It's not safe." Inside the main Cadillac, Donald Trump, seated in the back, furrowed his brow. He turned to his chief of security, his voice filled with curiosity. "What the hell is going on out there?" The agent standing beside him listened to his earpiece, then responded, "A kid, sir. He ran into the road. Says we can't go that way." Trump raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. He motioned toward the front. "Bring him here." The order sent another ripple of tension through the agents. But protocol was protocol. Two agents carefully approached the boy and led him toward the main vehicle, his small figure dwarfed by their towering presence. The crowd watched in stunned silence. As the door to the armored Cadillac opened, the boy was gently pushed forward. He hesitated for a moment before climbing inside, his wide eyes locking onto the former president. Trump leaned slightly forward, studying the child with an unreadable expression. "All right, kid. You've got my attention. Why shouldn't we go that way?" The boy swallowed hard. Then, with a voice full of urgency, he said something that sent a chill down everyone's spine. "Because if you do, something terrible is going to happen." A heavy silence filled the inside of the armored Cadillac as Trump narrowed his eyes, studying the boy. Outside, the Secret Service stood on high alert, hands hovering near their weapons, waiting for any sign of a threat. The boy's hands trembled slightly. But his voice was unwavering. "Please," he begged. "You have to listen to me. If you go that way, something really bad is going to happen. I just know it." Trump leaned back, exchanging a glance with his chief of security. The man, an experienced agent with decades in the field, shook his head slightly. "Mr. President, with all due respect, it's just a kid. We should clear the road and keep moving." But Trump wasn't so sure. He had been in politics long enough to know that sometimes the most unexpected warnings were the ones worth listening to. He turned back to the boy. "What do you mean by something terrible?" The boy's face paled, as if he wasn't sure how to explain. He hesitated before whispering. "I heard them talking about it. About an explosion." That single word sent a jolt through the vehicle.
The chief of security immediately snapped into action. "Get every unit on comms. Check the planned route for any unusual activity," he barked into his earpiece.
Outside, the agents moved swiftly, their well-trained eyes scanning every inch of the street ahead. The crowd, sensing the sudden shift in mood, started murmuring, unsure whether to panic or stay put. Meanwhile, Trump remained focused on the boy. "Who did you hear talking about this?" The boy hesitated, his small fingers gripping his jacket. I was walking home from school. I took a shortcut through an alley near the old construction site. There were these men. And they were arguing. One of them said something about timing it right before the convoy arrives. I didn't know what it meant at first. But then I saw the news this morning that you were coming through town." The chief of security swore under his breath. "Sir, we need to reroute immediately." But before the order could even be carried out, a loud boom echoed through the street. The ground shook. Screams erupted from the crowd. Smoke billowed into the air from just a few blocks ahead, the very direction the convoy was about to take. Trump's eyes widened. The boy had been right. The agents immediately sprang into action, ushering the convoy into a defensive position. Weapons drawn. Communication lines buzzing with emergency calls. Trump, still seated inside the Cadillac, turned to the boy, who looked just as shocked as everyone else. "Kid, you just saved my life." But before the boy could respond, another sound pierced the chaos, one that made every agent freeze in place. Gunfire. And it was coming from the rooftops. "Sniper!" one of the Secret Service agents shouted as gunfire erupted from the rooftops. In an instant, the well-trained agents sprang into action. The convoy's security protocol kicked in, shields were raised. Armored vehicles shifted into defensive positions. And Trump was immediately pushed down by his chief of security. "Get the president out of here." Now, an agent barked into his radio. The boy was frozen in fear. His heart pounded as he watched the chaos unfold around him. The sharp cracks of gunfire echoed through the street. He could see the flashes of muzzle fire from the rooftops. The agents returning fire. And the terrified crowd scrambling for cover. Suddenly, he felt a strong hand grab his arm. One of the agents pulled him down behind the open car door. "Stay low. Kid. Keep your head down," the agent ordered. Trump, now crouched behind the bulletproof Cadillac, looked at the boy with a mix of shock and admiration. "What's your name?" "Kid," he asked, keeping his voice low as bullets ricocheted off the armored vehicles. "Ethan," the boy stammered, still trying to process everything. Trump nodded, peeking over the car to assess the situation. The rooftop attackers were heavily armed. And they weren't just shooting at the convoy, they were targeting the crowd too. "We need air support now," a Secret Service agent shouted into his radio. From the distance, the distinct thumping of helicopter blades could be heard approaching. Reinforcements were on the way. But would they get there in time? One of the agents quickly turned to Trump. "Sir, we have to move. The safe house is 2 blocks away. But we can't take the vehicles. They're too exposed." Trump scowled. "You're telling me we have to run in the middle of a damn firefight?" The agent nodded grimly. "It's the best option. We'll provide cover. But we need to move, now." Trump turned back to Ethan. "Kid, you're coming with me."
Ethan's eyes widened. "What? But..."
"No buts," Trump said firmly. "You saved my life. Now I'm making sure you stay alive too." Before Ethan could argue, one of the agents grabbed him and positioned him between them. "Move! Move! Move!" another agent yelled. With trained precision, the Secret Service team formed a tight protective shield around Trump and Ethan, ushering them toward an alleyway while others continued to return fire. Bullets struck the pavement behind them, sending up sparks and debris. Ethan ran as fast as he could, his small legs struggling to keep up. His breath came in quick gasps, his mind racing. He had never been more scared in his life. Then, out of nowhere, a figure stepped into the alley ahead of them, holding a gun. It wasn't a Secret Service agent. It was one of the attackers. Ethan froze, his heart pounding louder than the gunfire. The masked man raised his weapon, aiming directly at Trump. The world seemed to slow down. Ethan didn't think. He just acted. With all the strength he had, he lunged forward, straight into the gunman. The impact knocked the man's aim off just as he pulled the trigger. The gun fired, the shot missing Trump by mere inches. An agent tackled the gunman to the ground before he could fire again. Trump stared at Ethan, his face unreadable for a second. Then, a smirk crossed his lips. "Kid, you're either the bravest damn person I've ever met, or the craziest." But before Ethan could respond, another explosion rocked the street, this one even closer. Something much bigger was happening. And they were running out of time. The explosion sent a powerful shockwave through the alley, throwing debris into the air. Trump and Ethan were knocked off their feet, landing hard against the rough pavement. The Secret Service agents scrambled to shield them, their guns raised, scanning for threats. "We need to move, now," one of the agents shouted, through the ringing in his ears. Ethan could barely process what was happening. The air smelled of smoke and burning rubber. He forced himself to his feet, grabbing Trump's arm. "Come on," he gasped. Trump, surprisingly agile for his age, got up quickly with the help of an agent. His face was serious, his usual bravado replaced by pure survival instinct.
As they rushed deeper into the alley, Ethan's mind raced. Who were these attackers? Why were they trying to kill Trump?
Just then, his foot hit something hard, an object half buried in the rubble. He stopped for a split second and looked down. It was a cell phone. Not just any phone, one with a cracked screen. Still active, displaying a text message. His heart pounded as he read the words glowing on the screen. Phase 1 complete. Target still alive. Phase 2 in 2 minutes. Be ready. Ethan's blood ran cold. There was another attack coming. "Mr. Trump," he shouted, grabbing the former president's sleeve. They're not done. There's another attack coming in 2 minutes. Trump's eyes darkened. What? How do you know? Ethan held up the phone. I found this, it's from one of them. They're planning something else. The chief of security snatched the phone from Ethan's hands and scanned the message. His jaw tightened. He immediately pressed a button on his radio. All units. Be advised, potential second strike incoming. We need air evac now. But before they could take another step, the alley ahead erupted in gunfire. 3 masked men appeared, armed with assault rifles. They were waiting for them. Down, an agent roared, shoving Trump and Ethan behind a stack of crates. Bullets tore through the wood, splinters flying everywhere. The Secret Service agents returned fire, their precision unmatched. One attacker went down immediately, but the others were closing in. Ethan's heart pounded as he clung to Trump. This is it. We're trapped. But then, a helicopter roared overhead.
The unmistakable sound of military-grade rotors cut through the chaos as a Black Ops helicopter descended toward them. Ropes dropped down, and heavily armed Special Forces soldiers rappelled into the alley.
Reinforcements had arrived. Secure the package, a soldier barked as he fired at the remaining gunmen. One by one, the attackers fell. The alley was cleared within seconds. The leader of the rescue team rushed forward, gripping Trump's shoulder. Sir, we're getting you out of here. Move. Trump, still catching his breath, looked at Ethan. You're coming with me, kid. Before Ethan could respond, an agent grabbed him and lifted him toward the helicopter. As they ascended, he looked down at the ruined streets below. Smoke still filled the air, and sirens blared in the distance. But one question still haunted him. Who planned this attack, and why?
As the helicopter soared into the night sky, Ethan realized something chilling.
This wasn't over. It was just beginning. As the helicopter soared above the burning streets, Ethan sat strapped into a seat, still trying to process everything. His hands trembled, adrenaline still coursing through his veins. Across from him, Trump sat with a serious expression, his usual bravado replaced by quiet contemplation. The leader of the Special Forces team, a man with a thick beard and piercing eyes, leaned forward. Sir, we've intercepted some radio chatter. The attack was orchestrated by a high-level rogue faction. This wasn't just about you, it was about destabilizing the country. Trump scoffed, shaking his head. They really thought they could take me out like that? Amateurs. Ethan, still clutching the stolen phone, stared at the ominous message on the screen. Phase 2 in 2 minutes. His mind raced. Wait, if this was Phase 1, what's Phase 2? The soldier exchanged a glance with the chief of security. We don't know yet, but we're working on it. Our intel team is tracking the source of that message now. Suddenly, the radio in the cockpit crackled. We have an incoming threat, possible drone strike. Evade. Evade. The pilot yanked the controls, and the helicopter swerved violently. Ethan grabbed the seat as the entire aircraft tilted. Below, 2 small drones zipped toward them, armed with explosive payloads. Hold on, the pilot shouted. A missile launched from the helicopter, striking the first drone mid-air. A fiery explosion lit up the sky. But the second drone was still closing in. It's gonna hit us, Ethan cried. The Special Forces leader grabbed a rifle, swung open the side hatch, and took aim. In one precise shot. The drone exploded just 20 feet away from the chopper. The shockwave rattled the aircraft. But they were safe, for now. As they stabilized, the radio crackled again. "We've traced the source of the attack orders. You're not gonna believe this." The tension in the helicopter thickened. "It's coming from inside the government." Trump's eyes darkened. "I knew it." The agent continued. "An insider, a high-ranking official, helped coordinate the attack. They knew your route. They had access to the security details." Ethan looked at Trump. "Someone betrayed you." Trump clenched his jaw. "And I'm going to find out who." As the helicopter sped toward a secure location, Ethan realized his life would never be the same. He had stopped an assassination, uncovered a conspiracy, and now, he was in the middle of something much bigger than himself. Trump glanced at him and smirked. "Kid, you ever thought about working in the White House?" Ethan chuckled nervously. "I think I've had enough excitement for one day." Trump nodded. "Fair enough. But if you ever change your mind, you've got my number." As the city lights stretched out beneath them, the mission wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about uncovering the truth. And Ethan knew, this was only the beginning.